Christians have been trying to use the world, the darkness, the flesh, the spiritually dead, to somehow help Jesus build his kingdom. And essentially, they have struck deals with the devil. Every effort to advance the kingdom by means of a worldly scheme is an attempt to do God's work the devil's way. And that's exactly the temptation that the devil gave and that Peter recycled. Did we forget that we lose our lives for the gospel? Did we forget that there's no crown without a cross? That's always the devil's temptation. Hey, we'll advance the church by having a very powerful lobby group in Washington, D.C., manipulating politicians. We'll advance the kingdom by cleverly developing some strategies for the church to win over the kingdom of darkness citizens, to pull them in. And we'll be very accepting and very tolerant, and we won't talk about sin. We'll devise some very worldly means to make them feel like this is normal life. This is going to be just like a concert they went to or just like a TED Talk they heard. And all of it has one thing in mind: to avoid the suffering that comes with the confrontation of the gospel. And while we know the gospel is good news, the first message of the gospel is you are a sinner and you are on your way to eternal hell. This culture does not want to hear that. For 300 years, they've been building a philosophy that is now in full fruition that says people are basically good and they have a right to be whoever they are. And the fact is, this is the philosophy in a nutshell. The reason people are unfulfilled is because there is a historic white patriarchy who has created religion which is false since there is no God, and used that religion basically to oppress and incarcerate the people in general. They have created laws, given them religion as a covering, sort of sacred blanket, in order to prevent people from doing what they want to do. We've got to throw all that off and let everybody be whatever they want to be, and that's how you get to 100 genders. It all started when they wanted to say man is good. It's culture that makes him bad. And it's the elite who rose to the top who created the culture that inhibits their sexual desires. All the architects of that, I don't know if you've ever read Paul Johnson's book called The Intellectuals. It's a terrifying book, goes through all those philosophers, and it shows how deviant they were in terms of their sexual conduct. They were wanting a philosophy, of course, that overthrows God and morality so they could live wretched lives. There was nothing noble about it. How is it that the church has taken up that cause, cultural Marxism or whatever? Good intentions and love for Christ, prompting efforts to advance the kingdom by political lobbying, by pragmatism, by social change, by shallow gospel, by entertainment, emotional manipulation, acceptance of sin, is to overthrow the purpose of God and to do the devil's work. Our Lord's way is to stay on your side, the kingdom of light. And that is why Paul says in 2 Corinthians 10:5, we have to bring every thought captive to whom? To Christ. We have to smash these ideological fortifications raised up against the knowledge of God and liberate the people who are held captive by those things and lead them in every sense to the knowledge of Christ. John says, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world, because the world is passing away. It has no future. James says friendship with the world is enmity with God. He says one chapter earlier that the wisdom which is from below is demonic. Partnering with the devil is no positive strategy.